I just look around the room and see how many people here aren't 39 years old. You know, Tim's been here since before a lot of you were born. Some of the positions, Tim, that Tim's held over the years, I know Tim's told me he started off in the underground department as a helper, right, Tim?
That's right.
Yep, he's an underground helper. And one of the things I was going to say is I tell you about the positions that you guys may or may not know that Tim held. Just think in your head how many stories Tim could tell you about each and every one of those positions. If you know Tim, you know he'd have a lot of stories about all of them. So Tim started as an underground helper back in 1972. And from there, Tim, if I forget one, you got to tell me. But you went into the lineman apprenticeship. Looks like back about the mid-70s.
74.
And Tim was at Brooklyn Center. We don't have that service center anymore, but Brooklyn Center here at Chestnut and Edina, Tim did his apprenticeship. And then Tim was a lineman again at Edina and Chestnut and Brooklyn Center. Spent time at all the service centers. In '86, Tim got to be a relief foreman, and then ended up being a line crew foreman in 1987. And after that, Tim's been in a number of different supervisory roles. Was a field and safety supervisor, and spent a number of years as a superintendent, Brooklyn Center.
Team leader, don't forget that.
What's that one, Tim?
Team leader.
Team leader. That one isn't on here. It doesn't say team leader.
That wasn't very well received. You walked into a trailer, construction trailer, and they'd say, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Tim French, a team leader from NSP." "What?" "What's a team leader?" So they changed it pretty fast. We weren't team leaders for very long.
Then Tim spent quite a few years. Tim was a construction superintendent at Maple Grove. We moved the operations to Maple Grove, and also quite a few years as electric construction manager at Maple Grove. Then Tim, I think it was in 2006, you came back to Chestnut,
Yep.
Managed the underground department for a while, and for the last few years has been managing the overhead department. So Tim's a Metro West guy from way back, and has served in all the service centers. You know, and I just, you know, I'm not going to probably say anything that you guys don't know better than I do, but you know, the time I've been around Tim's a great guy and a great employee. I'm not sure you're going to find anybody that's more dedicated to NSP XL, to the company, than Tim has been over the years. You know, I've worked with Tim for quite a few years. I don't know if there's anybody that's more dedicated to serving our customers. You know, I can think back on many instances where Tim went the extra mile to make sure that a customer got taken care of, and we went out of our way to take care of those folks, and Tim was leading the charge. One of the things I've probably told a lot of people that I think is true is I think Tim knows this Metro West distribution system probably better than anybody else I know. If you want to know about something in Metro West on our distribution system, Tim's the guy to ask. And in fact, if you start asking him about it, he'll tell you every project he worked on since 1972, where the poles are at, what year we put them in, where the cutouts were. He has probably a few stories to go with them. That's right, isn't it?
That's true.
And then, of course, I'm not going to share any of these today, but you know, along with all that, you that know Tim, know that there's a lot of colorful stories that come with all of it. And, you know, and more on the serious side, think about how Tim is, how dedicated he is. You know, when we get into storm mode, I'd call, can we get somebody to come in and dispatch? Tim was usually at the service center dispatching before he even received the call. He was always the first one here, and he's usually the last one. We had to kick him out the door. And you know, like this summer, we had the Minneapolis tornado, and you guys know we kind of handled that a little bit different. And Tim actually was quarterback the whole thing, and what a tremendous effort by everybody. But Tim was there leading the charge. And just one last thing, Tim. I mean, how dedicated I know you are. Is last night, you guys know we had a little wind last night. And you got somebody who's retiring today from the company, and who was here till late last night, making sure stuff was taken care of. So I just think that's a tremendous level of dedication.
It was free food though.
It was free food, okay. All right. Sometimes some of you might have seen a little bit of barking out of Tim. But I think everybody knows that even though there was a little barking on the outside, I'm not sure you'll find anybody in this room that cares more about the other people in this room than what Tim does. And I mean, Tim's got the biggest heart, I think, of anybody I know. I think he cares about all of us a whole awful lot. And so there might have been a little barking, but there's an awful lot of heart inside. So, Tim, I just want to personally wish you really well in your retirement. It was just a great opportunity I had to have the chance to work with you. All right, I'm going to ask Steve Smeeds is going to had a few things he wanted to add. Steve's been working with Tim for the last few years here at Chestnut.
Well, I actually have a few stories I'd like to tell about Tim, but seeing that we're in mixed company, I'm going to refrain. And by mixed company, I'm talking about Metro East and Trumbull Park. Actually, what I wanted to say is, I'm not real good at this, but what I wanted to say is, I've known this man for a lot of years. We go back, way back, from my EUC days and everything else. And this man has spent more time mentoring me the last 5 years when I've got this new position than I think he did with his own job. And again, I want to talk just about the character, because I think most of the reason you stayed last night is because you didn't want to hang me out to dry and leave me by myself. And so I just want you to know that I love you, and I think you're one of my best friends. And just because you're leaving here, let's stay in touch.
The floor is yours, Tim. Everybody's all the field guys are off at 3:30.
I gotta try to get through this, so bear with me. Because we had a lunch downstairs for the Chestnut overhead, and I couldn't. It was hard. Thank you for all your praise, for all your respect. You know, I really do appreciate everything. It's been a, you know, to coin a phrase, I said it downstairs, I'll say it again. It's been one hell of a part. You know, it's the hardest thing in the world. 39 years, long time. The bad habit, the long-term habit, the worst addiction than anything I can think of, okay? But you know what? It was a great addiction, because I got to work with you guys. And I guess, who could want more? I told the guys downstairs, and I'll tell everybody else, I'm proud to say I worked here. I'm proud to say I was a lineman. I'm proud to say that I got to work with you guys, work for you guys. And you know something? I'll never stop being proud of that. Never. So, I just, I can't tell you how much this means to me. I wasn't going to do anything. And Jeff said, no, you're not getting out of here without a party. Because this is what happens when I have parties like this. You know, it's hard. But you know what? You guys will do fine. You do fine every day. And you continue to do fine. So, you know, I'll make sure you got my phone number, and I won't be like Dan Sullivan. Call every time you're in the storm and say, I'm available. You don't have to pay me. But I'll tell you what, I don't have all the words. I've worked with a lot of you guys for a long, long time. A lot of people back there I actually started working here with Fred. Fred McCoy was on a job, very first job I was ever on. I was on that job with Greg Kessler's dad, Joe. And Fred was the operator. We were right back there right behind the other side of Loring Park, working back there. I remember that day. And I also remember other jobs that, you know, Fred was an operator and you know, I was just a helper. You were more or less a slave. I walked in the door down there, front door, there was a receptionist, not a guard. She said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for the underground office." And they walked me back and introduced me to Al Wisdorf, who was the boss. He had a jug of whiskey in his drawer, a cigarette going and a cigarette after it. You know, everybody in the office was smoking. You know what? It was great times, great place. It still is. But you know, I got the fever when they opened a cross fitting. Dick Swanson was one of the first guys to go from the underground to the overhead. He's standing right there. And then I got to work in the overhead department with Dick and a lot of other guys. You know something? It was one hell of a party. You know? But, you know, who could say more? Who could want more? I got to raise my family. I got them educated. They have a house to live in and food to eat. You know? And on top of it all, I had fun. So I hope you guys can think back and laugh. You know? And I told guys downstairs that, you know, days always shorter when you get along and you can laugh. You know, 8 hours in the truck passes in a blink of an eye. And 40 years or 39 and a half years at the company passed in a blink of an eye. So I really do appreciate everybody coming. And I'll be at yours. Okay? Make that promise. So,
put me down.
Thank you very much. I have a few more handshakes to make and apologies, so. Eat all that cake. I don't want to have to drag any away.
Mm.